verse number 135, right, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Dandat pranam, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 135. Yes, almost there. Yes. So yesterday we saw up to 134 and how the Lord expands based on different gunas into Brahma and into even Shiva. For the purpose of annihilation, he expands into Shiva also. भिन्न नाही भेद नाही ए सकल देवे ए सकल देव चैतन्येर पाद सेवे. All these demigods are non-different or separate from Lord Chaitanya, for they all serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So, as we know that most of you here would know that there is one king or there is a president or the prime minister, and under whom there are different ministers, and each minister has different functions or areas to look after. Similarly, the Lord expands himself into different other demigods, gives them the energy and resource to continue their services in the different areas. So, to cover a particular thing, like for water, we have Varun Bhagwan. For Agni, we have Agni Devata, like that. And even our different parts of the body are controlled by different demigods. Like it is said that even if you want to lift your hand, unless the demigod which is helping you to lift the hand sanctions it, you cannot lift the hand. So until the karma is there for the person to use his hands, he can use his hands or legs, after which he becomes incapable to use once the karma balance gets over. 136. Pakshi matra yadilaya chaitanyera nama seyo satya yaibeka chaitanyera dhama. If even a bird chants Lord Chaitanya's name, it will certainly attain Lord Chaitanya's abode. So birds, we know that they have undeveloped consciousness. And if they chant the name of Sri Chaitanya, it will achieve great auspiciousness because of its engagement in spiritual activities. The spiritual name is not an object unrelated to the Supreme Lord like ordinary mundane sound vibrations. Therefore, since offenseless vibration of such names falls in the category of nama bhasa, liberation of even such birds is inevitable. Liberated souls attain the spiritual mode of the Supreme Lord. There is no contamination in constitutional duties there. So people have been doing research that how the sound vibrations move the particles. So when the sound vibration is given on a table, this experiment was done, and certain sand particles or salt was kept on the table, and when a particular method of sound is given, they form patterns, and then if you change the pattern of the sound, again the pattern starts changing. So now people scientifically, the Sankhya philosophy always tries to experiment, analyze, and try to understand things. Now we know that to reach the Supreme Lord, the best way is through the sound vibration. That is the holy name of, because the Lord is not different from his holy name. And the holy name sometimes is more powerful than the Lord himself, because Lord has bestowed all his potencies in the holy name, in his holy name. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are addressing the Supreme Lord, and that is our direct connection to the Supreme Lord through the sound vibration. सन्यासी हो यदि नहीं माने गौर चंद्र, जानी जानी हसे दुष्ट गण जन्म जन्मांध. Even though one may be a sannyasi, if he does not accept Gaurachandra, then that crooked person remains blind birth after birth. The sannyasa ashrama is situated on the highest platform of varnashrama dharma. If even sannyasis of such an ashrama become enemies of Gaura, they are blinded birth after birth and are unable to see the absolute truth. So it is said that the sannyasis also should not, nobody should be envious of the Supreme Lord. If they are envious of the Supreme Lord, then they are blinded birth after birth. Those sannyasis who are envious of Gaura are certainly sinful. Such duplicitous, miscreant thieves in the dress of renunciates blaspheme Sri Gaurachandra. Therefore, there is no need to respect their saintly dress. Those sannyasis who blaspheme Gaura are more abominable than thieves and plunderers. So, nobody should disrespect the Supreme Lord and be envious of the Supreme Lord because of our lording over the nature, and we wanted to take control. We wanted to be mini lords ourselves. That is why we live away from the Supreme Lord, from his Dhamma. And that is why we are sent into this material world where each of us tries to be the controllers without realizing that we can control nothing. For that matter, we can even not control the functionings of our body. So people who understand their constitutional position, that I cannot control the graying of my hair, I cannot control the falling of my teeth, I cannot control the dwindling of the material body, or I cannot control disease, death, nor the functioning of my organs. One ultimately comes to the platform that everything is being controlled by the Supreme Lord. So one disciple was asking his guru that please prove to me, Guruji, that that God is within me. So he asked the Guru. So then Guru says, who is breathing in you? Who is breathing within you apart from the Supreme Lord, except the Supreme Lord? That's the answer Guru gave. So even in our body, the breathing, we think we are doing the breathing. We are doing the breathing exercise. We are doing the breathing. That is incorrect. Only because Supreme Lord in the form of Paramatma is present that we are able to breathe. The day Supreme Lord decides to leave the body becomes the Jadavastu. As such also, all the materialistic people who don't realize Supreme Lord or who are not on the bhakti process, they are like dead bodies only. So only people who realize the purpose of their life. So Srila Prabhupada says in this context, uh, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, all the jivas do, all the living entities do. What is that one thing different for a human being? A human being can think. He has the power of reasoning and he can ask why he has come as a human being and think who is my controller, who has created me. So only human being can ask. A cat or a dog or any other animal cannot ask why I was created, right? But a human being can understand somebody is controlling. If everything is happening in a very orderly fashion, then there is some controller, there is a creator, and the human being can search for the creator. So that is the purpose of our human life. ये न तपस्वीरा वेशे थाके बातो यारा एई माता निंदक sannyasi durachara. Such a blasphemous miscreant sannyasi is no better than a thief in the dress of a renunciant. So a sannyasi who doesn't respect Gaura Sundara is no better than a thief, and he is in the although he is in the body of a dress of a renunciant. निंदक सन्यासी बातो यारे नाही भेदा द्युति निंदक बड़ा द्रोही कहे वेदा. There is no difference between a blasphemous sannyasi and a thief. Yet of the two, the blasphemer is worse. The Vedas refer to the blasphemer as malicious. The Brahmanas are qualified for four ashramas, for all four ashramas. The Kshatriyas and others are qualified up to Vanaprastha. So Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. For all the four ashramas, a Brahmana is qualified, whereas a Kshatriya cannot become sannyasi. The Kshatriyas and others are qualified up to Vanaprastha. So there are two kinds of sannyasa, a Narottama or a first class human being, depending completely on the Supreme Lord Krishna, and Dhira, the one who is not disturbed by being away from family association. The sannyasa that is accepted according to Vedic religion is called Tridanda sannyasa. For further description, we have to see purports to Srimad Bhagavatam 1:13, 27 and 28. The Brahminical regulations prescribed in Ekadanda Sannyasa are relaxed in the Paramahamsa Ashrama, which is beyond rules and regulations. There are no Vedic samskaras or purificatory rites prescribed for the Shudras. If a Shudra takes the dress of a renunciator and runs about to fulfill his desires, he again becomes a Shudra. So, what is the purpose of this Tridanda? The Tridanda sannyasi, which is there in our Vaishnava tradition, is the each of the danda represents that he has to have uh, control over his senses, body, mind, and manasa, vacha, and karmana, like control over his mind, control over his speech, and control over his deha, body. So this is the three controlling things he has to control, and that is why the three dand represents for that. So Srila Prabhupada, although he made the Chandalas also brahmacharis and sannyasis ultimately, but they had completely surrendered to a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada recognized their qualities and gave them their diksha, both Harinam diksha, Brahman diksha, and then eventually made them sannyasis. That time he had to do it very fast because he had to grow the movement. And those people, even the Chandalas, they took forward the Vaishnava traditions. If you look at the amazing videos of how these foreign bodied disciples translated did the proofreading, Sanskrit proofreading, they went by the Sanskrit translations, they checked the Sanskrit dictionary. This is when 50 years ago. 50 years ago, they had all the books to verify the Sanskrit dictionary, word by word. They checked the meanings for all Prabhupada translation and synonyms, and they beautifully edited it. And also English editing was done, and they worked in a very clockwork like a time bound thing because they had to produce those translations of Srimad Bhagavatam. If not for the hard work of these devotees and Srila Prabhupada's relentless translations of these scriptures, we wouldn't have easily got these treasure scriptures for us to read in the language which we can understand, because Sanskrit is so tough that it takes 12 years to just do the graduation in Sanskrit. It is not that easy, or to master Sanskrit. And these devotees, it is just the Leela of Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that these devotees were put at the right place. And amazingly, they wear such Vaishnava dress. And there is a beautiful video I shall share whoever wants. There's a beautiful video where they go about taking the translations from Srila Prabhupada, that is on a voice recorder, and then they transcribe it. Again, they do the proofreading, check the Sanskrit words, and spend enough time on that dictionary to word meaning, etc., and then complete the whole thing in English. And it is a mammoth job. I mean, in the today's world, it looks very impossible to do such a thing. Although our Vartaman Guru Parampara Sri Bhanu Maharaj, Srila Bhanu Swami Maharaj has translated so many other small books of previous acharyas into English, and because of these hard work. So what I'm trying to say here is that even though they were Chandalas, Prabhupada gave them Sukruti and they saw the quality. They had the Brahminical quality, and thus they could help in the distribution of knowledge or expand the knowledge. As a Brahmana, one is supposed to be Titikshava, Karunika, have the understanding of the knowledge of the scriptures and distribute to the others. And like similarly, the Vaishnava, the Kshatriyas have the duties to protect the society, and the Vaishya community has the duty to protect, do the business, commercial activities and protect the cows, like that. So those who use the Tridanda as their means of livelihood have been described in the Shastras as bandhas or charlatans. Since even after attaining the highest platform, such people cannot understand the actual purport of religious principles. They preach irreligion as religion. Since Mayavadi ek Kanadi sannyasis, Ekadandi, sorry, since Mayavadi Ekdandi sannyasis are on the platform of Shudras, they are cheated from Paramahamsa Dharma. If such people then run after fulfillment of their material desires like Shudras, they simply become known as pseudo renunciants. The samskara of the Tridandi sannyasis is complete. Subsequent maintenance of that vow is accepted as an exemplary Vedic observance. Engagement in sense gratification like a Shudra who is devoid of samskaras is nothing but an invitation to irreligiosity. The Tridandi sannyasis. So samskaras are very important in our life. So people coming, joining the movement, learn that there are various samskaras in the life of a living being. Almost Shodasha samskara or 16 samskaras are there, which one should follow. People who don't follow, especially like the Shudras, they are only inviting irreligiosity. So the Tridandi sannyasi servants of Lord Vishnu have no vanity for the austerity, dress, and livelihood that are found among the four varnas, beginning with Brahmanas, and the four ashramas, beginning with Brahmacharis. They do not identify themselves as so-called Brahmanas, so-called Kshatriyas, so-called Vaishyas, or so-called Shudras. They are transcendental to the four varnas, since they have engaged all rules and regulations meant to be followed in the four ashramas as brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, and bhikshu in the service of Supreme Lord, they are not at all engaged in activities like austerity, dressing, earning livelihood in this world of enjoyment. So, as a sannyasi, the person is away from all the four varnas. So, he has nothing to do with Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And at the same time, he follows all the rules and regulations which are meant for the four ashramas, that is Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and the Bhikshu or the sannyasi stage. And they are not at all engaged in the activities of the mundane people. And they have studied the Naraj Pancharatra verse beginning Aradito Yadi Hari Tapasa Tata Kim Na Aradito Yadi Hari Tapasa Tata Kim Antar Bahir Yadi Hari is Tapasa Tata Kim Na Antar Bahir Yadi Hari is Tapasa Tata Kim. What does this mean? Is if one is worshipping Lord Hari, what is the use of severe penances? And if one is not worshipping Lord Hari, what is the use of severe penances? So, for a person who is always worshipping Hari, he need not do some more severe austerities, right? He is already worshipping the Supreme Lord. So, and for some other person who is not worshipping Lord Hari, जो भगवान को पूजा नहीं करता है, तो फिर वो पेनेंस करके उसका क्या फायदा, ऑस्टेरिटी करके उसका क्या फायदा है उसका, तपसा तथा किम. And if one can understand that Lord Hari is all pervading, what is the use of severe? So अगर हम समझते हैं कि भगवान सर्वव्यापी हैं, all is all pervading, then what is the use of severe penances? And if one cannot understand that Lord is all pervading, अगर वो व्यक्ति ऐसा है, उसे ये समझ में नहीं आता कि भगवान सर्वव्यापी हैं, तो भी उसके ऑस्टेरिटी करने का क्या अर्थ है? So they do not exhibit aversion to the worship of Lord by displaying niyamagraha, blindly following the rules and regulations, or niyama agraha, neglecting the following, like in Nectar of Devotion, niyamagraha and niyama agraha are explained very well. So one is niyamagraha, blindly following the rules and regulations like a fanatic, or niyamagraha, neglecting to follow the rules and regulations for austerities. They place no importance in external dress. So one has to follow the rules and regulations, but with knowledge. Dressing as householders does not diminish their respectability. When they accept the dress of sannyasi, they do not proudly consider themselves advanced. They do not endeavor in the least for their own livelihood, as do those of the four varnas headed by brahmanas. So they are sannyasi जो है, they are not worried about their livelihood because they are serving the mission. Other varnas have to take care of the sannyasis, like brahmanas, kshatriyas, brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, shudras. They have to take care of the sannyasi. Grahasthas have to take care. So like that, brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, these three categories will have to take care of the sannyasis. Whatever they accumulate is meant for the service of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas. But they do not take professions like brahmanas and others to simply simply for the sake of their own livelihood. So they will not take up any other varnas. Having taken a sannyasi ashrama, they would not take up any other varnas like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. No servant of Vishnu will accept any ingredient in charity from others for the satisfaction of his own belly. So a sannyasi, although he is be like a bhikshu, he will not accept anything for his own satisfaction. Whatever he will accept for the Vishnu and the service of Lord Vishnu and Vaishnavas. For they know that acceptance of charity from others without being situated in Brahmanical behavior is the cause of fall down. So whatever ब्राह्मणा के जो क्वालिटी हैं 6 क्वालिटीज आते हैं उसमें एक है he has to accept in charity and he can give in charity. Pathanam, Pathanam, Yajanam, Yajanam, and then accepting in charity and giving in charity. These are the 6 qualifications for a Brahmana. So when he accepts, sannyasi accepts, for they know that acceptance charity from others without being, if he is not situated in the Brahmanical behavior. So what is the Brahmanical behavior? Patanam, Patanam, Yajanam, Yajanam, accepting in charity and giving in charity. If the sannyasi is not situated in Brahmanical behavior, then he should not accept anything in charity, because if he accepts without having these Brahmanical qualities, then it will cause a fall down in him. But professionals take shelter of the Tridanda, like Ravana, artificially accept the dress of renunciants while engaging in all kinds of material enjoyment. The superiority of ascetics over non-ascetics is vividly described in Vedic literature and in worldly tradition. But engagement in sense gratification after accepting the dress of an ascetic on the pretext of austerity makes a living entity averse to the Supreme Lord. So, one in the sannyasa consciousness or the sannyasa ashrama, one has to have complete control. He's as good as a Goswami. He has complete control of his sense and he doesn't engage himself in any sense gratification. He has to control his mind, his body, and his speech. Those 3 controls has to be there. Therefore, in the course of propagating the philosophy of Mayavada, the preaching of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, liberation by those who are ignorant of religious principles and who proudly consider themselves highly advanced is simply the thirst for accepting charities like Shudras. So the 4 pillars of the Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. So the Mayavasis are only focused on these things, Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. And they just say we need to get liberation. But they don't understand that beyond liberation, the real life or the real the jiva starts as real life. So the Pancham Purushartha, which is the bhakti, that is completely ignored because they are in complete ignorance. The Mayavadis are in complete ignorance of the Pancham Purushartha, which is the bhakti yoga, which comes after all this. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, everybody does. Dharma follows some basic religiosity. Artha, that is economic development, collect some artha or money for the maintaining of the family and relatives. sense gratification. Everybody does some kind of sense gratification, and after that they get a liberation. So, and liberation by those who are religious principles and who proudly consider themselves highly advanced is simply the thirst for accepting charity like Shudras, and the cheating of those who make their living by dressing as ascetics. This is the behavior of Shudras, and such behavior is characteristics of people in Kali Yuga. After abandoning subordination to Gaura Sundara and acting like thieves, such people attack the pure devotees of Gaura and go to hell. So such Mayavadis who abhor, who abandon the subordination of Gaura Sundara, who don't accept Gaura Sundara as a supreme lord and act like thieves, they pure devotees of Lord. They act as pure devotees of Gaura, they certainly go to hell. So we just have one small para. We'll finish this and then stop for the day. Thieves are actually superior to such Mayavadi sannyasi Sudras whose duplicitous claim to be religious preachers while earning their livelihood dressed as ascetics, while taking from the principle of quarrel in the age of Kali. So here the Acharya says that thieves are much better than the Mayavasi. So Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Mayavadi bhashya sunile hoi sarvanash. So if one hears to the commentaries of Mayavadi, our sarvanash or our going to hell is confirmed. Like here, that is what is being said by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to the purports of this verse. And while considering themselves superior to Shudras is simply the wild dancing of Kali. That is why in the final canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, such abominable behavior has been described. This verse has appeared for the sake of those proud, so-called followers of Varna Dharma who become misguided by violating the principle mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 13, verse 32. We consider that this is probably as this verse does not appear to fit the context. In our opinion, the verse being referred to is Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 11, verse 32. So give me a moment, we'll just see what is this verse. Vedam base and Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, verse 32. The Perfect Society, 4 classes. That is the title of this chapter. So the translation is, if one acts Vritya Swabhava Kritya Vartamana Swakarma Krit Hitva Swabhava Jam Karma Saner Nirgunatvam Yat. If one acts in his profession according to his position in the modes of nature and gradually gives up these activities, he attains the Nishkama stage. So if one gradually gives up his hereditary customs and duties and tries to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his natural position, so natural position of being in the Dasa Anubhava, and later on establishing a relationship with the Supreme Lord, either on a basis of Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, like that. He is gradually able to become free from these activities and he attains the stage of Nishkama, freedom from material desires. So as we keep serving the Supreme Lord, we will automatically get detached from our material desires or material kamna. So we'll stop here at 139. This was a very big purport. Thank you all for listening. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। माता जी, ब्राह्मण जो याचनम में वो क्या करते हैं माता जी? वो नॉलेज गेन करते हैं ना? तो आप स्क्रिप्चर को पढ़
यज्ञ कराते हैं माता जी, यज्ञ कराते हैं ना,
यज्ञ
पठनम
ओके
पाठनम।
ओके
तो पठनम मीन्स वो खुद स्टडी करते हैं और दूसरे को पढ़ाते हैं। तो यज्ञ के बारे में वो जानते हैं, यज्ञ करते हैं और यज्ञ करवाते हैं। दैट्स व्हाट इज द मीनिंग।
Okay, okay, Mataji. Thank
That is
you.
the basic qualities for a Brahman.
माताजी एक छोटा क्वेश्चन था माताजी,
हाँ
हंस तो मालूम है, परमहंस का क्या डेफिनेशन है?
माता जी, मैं प्रॉपर डेफिनेशन स्क्रिप्चर से लेके कल बताती हूँ, ठीक है ना?
ओके माताजी।
ओके,
माताजी
ऑब्वियसली
उसका
वेरी
मीनिंग
वेरी
थोड़ा
प्योर।
मालूम है, वो बता सकते
हाँ
हो?
वही लिटरल मीनिंग पता है, बट ही इज अ, वो सब चीज से उठ जाते हैं। ऑल फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल ही विल नॉट हैव एनी मेटल डिजायर्स, लाइक यू नो उत्तम अधिकारी वेयर ऑल आवर महाराजास आर, महाराज गुरु परंपरा इज सिचुएटेड, राइट? उत्तम अधिकारी दे आर, so they can look at all living entities with the same love and affection because they see the supreme lord in every living entity. We cannot do that. We are not in that position. Paramahamsa is even above these people. They probably don't even deal with the mundane people. So they are in always in the hums, like hums, you know, this big swan, when you give him the milk, he will separate, it will separate the milk and the water. It will take only the essence, that is the milk portion it will take. Through its beak, it has the ability, which through its releases a particular acid by which the milk is separated between water and the milk components. It is able to take only the milk. Like that, the Paramahamsas, Parama means supreme, Hamsas are the supreme swans. These devotees are so pure in nature that they can take only the goodness from everything, and they are always situated in the Smaranam Chintanam of the Supreme Lord. So, any more definition from the scripture, Mataji, I will check and tell you.
ओके माताजी, धन्यवाद, प्रणाम, हरे
Yeah.
कृष्ण।